Grog.
Hey everyone, it's the Sideshow Podcast with me, Peter Fickling, Keri Warwis, and the returning Matthew Weir. Well, how are you, Matthew, in Portugal's second best city?
Don't believe a word Hannah says. I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for the shout out last week. I think our listeners aren't stupid. I think they know that you fed my voice into a computer program, slowed it down.
It took me hours to make you sound as adult and
copied and pasted lovely over all my actual other adjectives that I used.
Do you not love everyone anymore, Matthew?
Oh, I love everyone all the time.
Even Steph.
Yes. Actually, which side of the big debate are you on, Matthew? You on Team Keri or Team Peter?
Well, remind me. This is something to do with. You just said Steph, didn't you? Do you mean Beth?
I said Steph. But the thing is right. They've both got the same name, haven't they? Really, which is annoying. Steph, Beth, and Beth's the dog.
And the dog, which I think they've got to the point now where they've had to recognise it and put that into the script.
Yes. Yeah, there was a very pertinent comment, wasn't there, by Ben, I thought, at one point. So Steph and Beth, we had a bit of a to-do. Did you listen to us? You did, didn't you? I think you listened to it last week's.
I did.
So Peter was saying that Steph is really fantastic and entertaining, whereas most people were thinking she was annoying. And I was like going, "Oh, she's horrible," but Beth's okay. But I've actually changed my mind this week. I hated Beth. So, what's your viewpoint, Matthew?
Well, Steph, I just think is great entertainment. The longer she's in it, the more I fear they're going to water down her character, because she was brought in as this kind of swinging, what's the word? Oh, hang on.
Slutty?
Whore?
Well, she's living her best life, isn't she?
I don't mean that. Yeah.
Regardless, yeah. No. She's just doing what makes her happy, and we thought Liam was on board with it. So I like her as a character. I'm just worried that the longer that she's in Beth, Ben, David and Ruth's orbit, the more boring she'll become. I want her to come in every now and again and suggest a threesome and off again. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Beth, I like Beth to an extent. I didn't like her at the beginning. I've liked her more recently, but one thing that is consistent is I do not like her manufactured outrage at everything. And she's really starting to piss me off with that. Like she's really eggy, isn't she? And I think if you were dating someone like that at one point, you would, if you were Ben, you would just turn around and say like, "Oh, wind your fucking neck in for once, would you?"
There was the bit where he was saying, "Oh, well, anyway, I was at my workplace, which is famously dominated by, women. And anyway, and so I was talking to some women who I work with because most nurses are women. And she was like, you talk to other women about our sex life." And I was like, oh my God. She was so over the top. Like I can imagine saying, look, it'd be nice to know exactly what the audience for my personal life is, or something funny or kind of like slightly kind of wry like that. But the way she kind of, like to Matthew's point, the level of outrage was exhausting.
She was, in Ben's defense, was they guessed, wasn't it? Old Keely and Rena before he had to tell them. I mean, he's not the only archer that's having a dip in his sex life. Apparently Tom would pay good money to smash an owl.
Is that a euphemism?
I was about to say, I laughed. I'm not sure it makes any sense.
Yeah, I know. Is an owl a euphemism?
They're giving up. They pulled some hideous owl out, and that sounds even worse.
Yes, I know that, but is it a euphemism for anything?
Tom said that they should take it to the summer fete, and he would pay good money to smash it. I'm sure I didn't dream that, but anything could have happened this week. Listen.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah, that was fine. I thought you were saying that owl is a euphemism for a fanny or something. But
no, just an owl in this case.
Just an owl. He just wants to a ceramic owl. I think that was all bloody cheeky, to be honest with you. How can you start taking Kathy's possessions to a white elephant stall and start ripping her carpets up?
And sticking Bowie in an alcove.
The fact that Tom is supposed to like David Bowie. It's Bowie, isn't it? David Bowie.
I saw recently that someone was, I can't remember where it was, so you might have seen it as well. Someone was talking about the fact that their daughter was saying about, oh yeah, you should really get into Kate Bush, and he was like, yes, I am aware of Miss Bush and her her efforts. Is it acceptable for people our age to be absolutely furious when the next generation discovers, like the stuff from our youth? Like, I mean, I'm loving the amount of electronica that's around, but also at the same time kind of like feeling it's mine, get off it, because it's like there's a huge surge in 80s electronica.
The re-emergence of Kate Bush is all down to Stranger Things season 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she's gone to number 1. Also in that season, because I've just finished watching it, is Musical Youth, Past the Duchy. And like my 12-year-old students are playing that at every regular interval in Portugal on their phones.
Yeah, they haven't mentioned that anywhere here, have they? No, I think in answer to your question, Peter, no, there shouldn't be any snobbery or protectiveness. And if people come across music in whatever way and love it, that's a great thing.
Can I suggest a middle ground where you completely believe that and accept it, but then you are, you do have these momentary and sort of like insuppressible sort of lapses or kind of like sort of spikes of anger? I mean,
Okay,
I can't control my fury when you see some guy with kind of mismatching neon socks thinking he's the first one to ever do it. It's like, we were doing that in 1986.
I get it a bit, because it's like when an indie band that you have loved for years suddenly starts going up the charts, which probably don't even exist anymore. And yeah, you think, oh, I did like them before the populace liked them.
Mm.
Yes, I saw a guy at Ashton Court Festival in Bristol one year with a T-shirt that said, if everyone else likes it, it can't be good anymore.
Oh, that's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
I remember going to see the Pixies at Dublin Olympia when they were on one of their, like when they first reformed, and they did 4 nights in a row at the Olympia. And I was in the standing area at the front, and there were a bunch of 18-year-old kids, like they were discovering it for the first time they would ever get to see the Pixies. And when they came on, I was chatting to them. They were very enthusiastic. I'd been the night before, and they wanted to know what was in the set and everything. They were jumping around going crazy, and there was this really miserable old guy next to me. And at one point, I just put my arm around them and said, look, like, they're 18. They're loving it. And you know what? They're not into shit music. They're loving the music you loved at 18. Just let them get on with it. And he kind of slouched off, I think.
I suppose there's the sort of buying your Nirvana T-shirts from Topshop element where you haven't even probably ever heard anything by them. That's a funny old phenomenon, isn't it?
My mum recently gave me a Nirvana T-shirt, and I think it might have come from Asda.
But you've listened to the music, haven't you?
And I've met the lead singer, in my defence.
Oh yeah.
We should make some Dross shirts, but like fully, properly, kind of, in the style of kind of like an old Iron Maiden shirt or something.
That could be our merch.
Yeah, exactly, for some merch. If we had to have some first merch, a Dross T-shirt might be quite a fun one to do. Matthew, you were mentioning a sad, old, miserable bastard, which gives us an easy segue to who could it be? Anyone? Martyn Gibson? Justin, maybe, although he's actually quite happy.
I thought you were going to say, and that was me in the crowd.
Oh, Keri.
I thought you were leading up to a joke. Also, before we move on, I just want to say Peter Bowker, who I love, he did a funny tweet about the Bowie thing because he loves him. He put, Tom mentioned his Bowie print again. Time for me to renew my speculation that he calls his penis Major Tom.
Very good.
And then Philippa Verica, she replied going, take your sausages and put your helmet on. And Borsuch Alive wants to know which clothes you wear. And then, it does end in a moment, Peter replied with, Helen's cheese is blue and there's nothing I can do.
When he's on the Vinegar Strokes, does he say commencing countdown?
She's a lucky woman, Natasha, isn't she? She's a very, very lucky woman. So we've got two directions we can go now. We can either go miserable old sods with Justin and Martyn, or we can go Natasha and the babies and how lucky she is to be carrying Tom's boy and girl.
Oh, dear, you've just reminded me what a grim week it was, wasn't it?
Look, I mean, we're not contractually obliged to do this. We could stop right now. I mean, let's go straight to socials.
Let's do Martyn and Justin. I think we all probably enjoyed Justin's balloon being burst.
Yes.
His adequate balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was very well done, I think.
I mean, obviously Martyn Gibson has given none of us any reason to like him whatsoever, but I did have a sneaky suspicion that it might be a certain amount of fun that comes out of this. And actually, to be fair to him today, even though he was a complete prick about it, and he didn't talk down to Neil. He did delegate a really unpleasant and shitty job to him, but he was actually quite kind of like, well, I don't, all my plans have turned to shit, so you get on with it. Which, if you ignore the way he said it, was actually quite a good plan. Put Neil in charge.
What can you remind me what Martyn said? Because I paused the episode and I was going to listen to that very last bit with Martyn and Neil, and then it all went wrong, so I didn't actually hear that bit.
So basically, Martyn went around the farm and he's like, well, surely we can do this. And they're like, well, no, that'll cause disease. And he's like, but we can do that. And they're like, well, yeah, that'll kill everything. And I'm making this up, obviously.
But no, he was crashing head first into like almost like post-Brexit food standards, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
And they had to tell him, no, this is going to be awful and cruel, and no one will buy from us if we do this.
So then he just got a bit exasperated and was like, well, okay, you do it, to Neil. But as I said, like, it might have been a patronising and rude way that he did it, but actually Neil's exactly the right person to crack on with it. And as Neil said, he's going to succeed or die trying, or words to that effect.
So Martyn Gibson isn't that much better than Justin, who was talking pig nonsense all the time, wasn't he?
So he picked up, he was in that conversation with Hannah, and it turned out he knew very little about pigs in the first place. And then he went in and stole all her terms and tried to repeat them to Martyn Gibson about growers and
showers.
Oh God, growers and showers. That was a night at Cuba's in Bristol. I don't think Martyn Gibson is going to be a good boss. I felt he wanted to do a load of cutting of corners. I think he genuinely wanted to do that. And when he realized it was too much like hard work, he did something that is quite typical of a character like him and just said to the person below him, you sort it all out then, and just trotted off.
So was it just a power play by Martyn to sort of flick Justin to one side, and actually he's not that much better than Justin?
No, I don't think he is. Just to be very clear, I wasn't saying that Martyn was a good guy, just that he accidentally stumbled across the right solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil didn't seem at all fazed by it, which I was quite pleased about.
It was very, very satisfying to hear Justin going in with his kind of patrician, Rees-Moggian assuredness, and to be just dismantled by someone who is even more up himself.
Yeah, when he was sort of going, with his lozenge voice, I've got a proven record for sniffing out waste, and I want to tighten up the through flow. And you think, what are you talking about?
That was like my call from the festival last week.
Well, I don't think you had any problem with through flow, Matthew. It sounded like plenty got through.
But it was clear that none of the board wanted him, because they decided all of that after he'd left the meeting, didn't they?
Yeah, they all stayed on and had a chat, and he was like, I would have stayed on. And they were like, no, these things sometimes happen. We wait till the prick leaves, and then we actually discuss what we really want to do.
Nobody likes Justin.
Was there anyone we did like this week? Denise. We liked Denise. Jakob was peculiarly likable.
Yeah.
That kind of, it was implausible. His complete inability to. So have you seen? There's been hundreds of these documentaries where they kind of they take you through a kind of someone who's on the spectrums way of communicating with the world, and how they kind of the things that they excel at, but some of the areas that they sort of have some trouble communicating or understanding, and it doesn't ring true, does it? Like the way that Jakob just has no idea how the rest of us go about our day. He doesn't I don't know. It doesn't feel like he's actually genuinely on the spectrum. It just feels like he's a very badly written person.
When you say he's on the spectrum, do you mean he's playing Jet Set Willy?
Oh, come on. The waves of nostalgia. But yeah, I mean, I don't. To be fair, I don't know enough about Asperger's or autism to make any kind of profound comment. But I just don't feel like he's been written very well. If he is being written as someone with Asperger's, I don't feel it's very convincing.
It's the proper Archer's mallet or sledgehammer, isn't it? Where they go, we're not subtle at all. So it started straight away on Sunday, where Jakob was heard to say, your ability to focus may have been impaired by competitive stress. That was to do with Black Betty situation, wasn't it? The Ram Lambs.
Stanley.
Yeah. And then he said about being bought a beer as recompense. He said, yes, we've agreed that will be satisfactory recompense. And there's just this sort of like tumbleweed moment after he says things like that, because no one else around him really would speak that way.
As I say, I don't have a huge personal experience of it, so forgive me for any ignorance. But I always feel that people who are on the spectrum make a huge effort to try and understand other people. And I feel Jakob is almost kind of like willfully dismissive of other people's sort of, more kind of, how would he put it? Like when Alistair's kind of wishy-washy side was how might be how he describes Alistair. But I just feel like most people on the spectrum would be making more of an effort than Jakob has. Although you could argue that today he made an effort, but all he did was plagiarise Alistair. So
there was that moment on Monday's episode where he said to Denise, I'm gradually learning to recognize how you humans work and express emotion. And I'm trying to introduce that more into my everyday life. But there is that. It's a little over the top, isn't it? Sometimes when he said, like, I was 99% sure. Oh, at least 97% sure.
Yeah, well, thank you for remembering that. That sums it up.
Yeah.
Which was a little strange. But I thought for a minute that maybe Alistair had written those words for Jakob. And then Alistair was kind of stood there thinking, Jakob's going to get all the credit here.
Oh, definitely. They were literally what Alistair had said. And then Jakob wrote it. It was like Cyrano de Bergerac, wasn't it?
You must have been in the bathroom stripping and oiling yourself ready for the pod at that bit, Matthew.
Because what's going to happen probably is Denise will think Jakob feels all those things for her, when actually it's the person who wrote it.
Okay, that might be when I nip to the kitchen.
Yeah, Matthew's now furiously trying to think of Cyrano de Bergerac pun. Every lobe of his brain is in overdrive.
Not Steve Martin in Roxanne, no?
No, I haven't watched that.
Have you not?
No, I watched the proper French one.
Well, maybe it's aged badly. I don't know, but I think or maybe I've aged badly. But I think that Roxanne is a tremendous movie.
Is it better than God? I can't remember. Highlander.
All right. Well, there's no need for this. Let's try and.
All right, hang on. Can I ask a question to both of you? First, I'm going to ask a question to Keri, and then I'm going to ask you a question, Peter. Keri, who would you say of the cider shed is more Jakob, Peter or me?
Peter.
Right. I knew you'd say that because that's why the second question's for Peter. Peter, what would your supporting statement be for Keri if she was up for an award?
I would give Keri between 96 and 97%. I have no idea why Keri would think I'm more Jakob. I would say that there's a bit of Jakob in both Matthew and myself.
Yeah, I thought it was touch and go, but I thought I knew how Keri might go on that.
No, I don't.
No, because I think I think there's I don't think either of us particularly like him, but I think there's.
I thought you were going to mention my love of stool samples and all of that sort of thing.
Oh no, you're the most Jakob of the three of us, Keri. Let's make that 100% clear. Mimi and Max coming in and you're crying and kicking your legs out because you've lost count of your pen collection or something. I mean,
and plus Keri is efficient in the routine collection of blood, shit, and piss.
Yeah,
generally, honestly.
Oh, no one's better. Yeah.
Yes, come visit my museum.
Oh God, that's like the last thing some people hear.
Yeah, it's like something from Royston Vasey or
And
something.
then that laugh as you kick them down the basement stairs.
With my headscarf on.
I bet you'd be a very thoughtful and caring serial killer if you were Keri.
Oh my God, I'd be really good at it. I watch and listen to so much true crime. It's unhealthy.
I mean, the thing, and I know this isn't an original comment, but the thing that the reason there aren't more serial killers out there is I don't think there's a sort of a lack of evil. It's just it sounds like so much hard work. Like, I mean, having to dig out the whole of your basement and then find room for all the corpse management alone is just sounds exhausting.
Corpse management. There's a gap. There's a gap in the bloody market there. I might go on Dragon's Den.
What, like a vampire's familiar? Someone who just helps serial killers out, does all the admin and hard work.
Yeah, that sounds like a good Quentin Tarantino film. That
I guess Mr. Wolf in Pulp Fiction is kind of what he is. He's not a killer himself, but he does.
Is that Harvey Keitel?
Yeah, yes. But he does participate quite enthusiastically in the whole process.
It's a shame he started doing those insurance ads.
Speaking of corpses, at least Pat's not in it this week. I don't know. That doesn't even make sense. I've no idea.
Peter, she said Pat.
Oh, no, come on. Not the jingle.
Oh, it's been a while.
Has it? Okay. I mean...
is it to hand?
It's not. It should be.
Jesus, your bloody finger should be on that button at all times when you're in your studio garden box thing.
You are right to some extent, is that we've only got one jingle, so it's not asking a huge amount for me to have it. I've got to find it.
Primed.
General assets. This is ringing a bell now. Bloody hell.
You always say general assets first.
Let's see if this is it.
Pet chat.
Right. We have to somehow get this back on track.
Pat is married to Tony.
Tony is a strange man who makes little trains.
He likes knowing the exact length of sweet pea stems to go in the vase, because if he doesn't get it right, Pat will hit him.
Pat discovered the sex of the twins. We had the whole Natasha Tom thing. Tom doesn't want to know whether they have boys or girls because of the whole thing that happened with Ren.
Yeah.
He felt it was tempting fate. But then it turned out that pretty much everyone was going to find out eventually, because Natasha was quite loose-lipped. Well, at one point, she just basically said to Tom, like, piss off and go and put money in the meter, Tom. You're doing my head. And he went out, and Anya was there doing the scan.
Tom doesn't seem to have gotten the memo that when you have, when your wife is pregnant, unless it's dangerous, you do exactly what you're told the whole time. The only thing that you can get right, being, the partner of someone who's pregnant, is just helping them. That's your only opportunity to sort of move the needle, and anything else is just being annoying. So I don't understand why you even tried to argue the case. All right, I'm being too much of a doormat, Keri.
No, when they were in the scan room. That's the technical term for it. And he was going, "You're doing really well, Natasha." It's like, she's just lying there. He was too OTT and he was verging on annoying there, wasn't he? And we know why. Yes. It's all sort of extra sensitive because of Ren. But again, he's horrible, isn't he? He's not nice. He sounds awful. It's really hard to like him.
The thing with Ren is, we've known Tom for decades now. So are we supposed to put aside decades of seeing him behave like a prize prick because of a few weeks of him, being upset and being sentimental in a way that's quite touching? It's like, no. The weight of evidence is against Sausage Boy, isn't it? So, he can do one.
Yeah.
It also grates with me a bit that we're having to hear about the cost of living crisis through the prism of Tom, Natasha, David, Ruth. I'm just like, come on.
Yes.
I don't want to hear it from these people. I'll take it from Tracy. I'll take it from Emma. I'll take it from Jazzer. But not literally. But I don't want to hear you know, David's already moaning. Sorry, I'm going off on a David moan here, but
good.
immediately whinging to Ruth about the pittance that they get for the solar panels, which have been paid for to put on their roof. And then and then he says to Ruth, I called into the shop and Susan was grumpy. And David, I mean, he's barely sentient, is he? It never seems to occur to him that he's always moaning that people he's talking to are grumpy. It's like, because they're talking to you shithole.
The common denominator here is you.
Because later Susan said to Natasha, oh, David came in here swanking about his solar panels and pretending to buy something. She just wanted him out of the shop.
Yeah. You're quite right. And also Natasha, annoying on that front, the financer. I must say, though, Natasha, the actress, is bloody great, I think. It was really striking me opposite Tom, who I think is less great. But I think Natasha, she might be annoying and everything, but acting-wise, really, really good. But she was like pondering over blinds, colour of decor and stuff. Only a few sentences prior to that, they were talking about how tight money is. So why are you sort of doing up the whole of your April cottage home that belongs to someone else anyway, if everything's quite so precarious financially?
Yeah, I did think during the week there was a couple of moments where I was like, there's some of these cost of living comments feel kind of quite retrofitted. Like, so, you know, it had been a kind of a bit of a burnish to some scripts that were already fairly set into place.
Jazza couldn't afford a ticket to go to the Borsetshire or Borchester. I always get those two. Borsetshire is the county and Borchester is a place.
Aye.
Is it? Anyway, he couldn't afford the ticket, could he, to go to the show? So Ed had snuck him in as a helper. And I looked up the South of England show, which is, I've been to it a couple of times in my youth when I was very little. And the ticket's £21.60. I thought, well, that's someone who can't afford anything, isn't it?
No, it was a one-off, but some of the Jubilee stuff, the tickets around Gloucestershire were just absolutely astronomical. Ridiculous.
What Jubilee stuff was it?
Well, all that stuff that I sent you that was going on around...
Oh, like dinners and things.
It's a pay to go, my God. That's one of the nice things about living in Lewisham.
There's always a party going on.
There's always a party going on, but there's very little bunting.
I went to a meeting last night that involved bunting.
What the what?
Yeah.
I didn't know serial killers use bunting, Keri.
The bunting killer.
Teddy Bunting.
Yeah, we're having a street party here, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. So I thought I'd try and do my bit and went to an organisational meeting at a neighbour's house. And we sat in the garden drinking wine, and someone had bought bunting which we're going to string up across the street from lamppost to lamppost.
Who are you going to string up across the street?
Anyone who doesn't like my pea rugs that I'm going to make for it.
Keri stomping around with, one hand holding a tray of pea rugs and the other hand ready to, clobber.
Yeah, so I'm getting in the community spirit.
When is this event taking place?
Not this Sunday, but the Sunday after.
Seeing as we've reached the Latvian section of the podcast, Keri has an update on last week's controversy where she shamed herself.
Yeah, well, it turns out my mum doesn't know anything either because she thought he was Latvian as well.
Well, I mean, when I listened to the podcast, I always thought he was American.
Also, somebody told me he died in a horrible accident or something. I daren't look.
Oh, God. It was something really weird, like his air conditioning killed him.
Oh,
it malfunctioned and it kind of put fumes into his house. That rings a bell anyway. Something very strange, but it was an untimely death. I just remember there was a very cool photo of him years ago with him on stage, him and John McEnroe on guitar and Steven Tyler on vocals. I think they went on stage with Aerosmith. So he was a bit of a party boy, I think. I think he was
I've just looked it up.
Considered to be a lost talent.
Vitas Garolitis was last seen walking the streets of Brighton with a freshly purchased Greg's sausage roll. All that were found were a pair of tennis shoes and a small pool of blood. Anyway. No, apparently it was an improperly installed pool heater and carbon monoxide. So you got that bit right. But no,
No,
it's not nice, is it?
not really. No, it's more jolly than the Archers, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I bet you, wherever he is now, if you asked him, would you rather have gone that way or at the hands of Keri Warbis? He would have said Warbis.
Yes, well done, Peter.
Yeah.
That's right. Did you think, speaking of sort of strange deaths, there's, we had the treacherous steps of yore, which have sort of vanished into the distance. What do you think now?
That's Chris, isn't it, living in the flat above the shop now? But
Yeah, but there's a new thing. Did you hear it? The treacherous rug.
no, where's that?
Natasha wants to rip up the carpets, polish the floor, and put a rug down.
Oh no!
When are you two going to start your sort of Frasier to the What This Is Cheers kind of sub podcast of dangerous but seemingly benign items?
But someone put a really good ancient public service broadcast video on from, it's either the 70s or the 80s, where treacherous rugs are a thing. So
They are. I can say after last weekend, don't do rugs, kids.
I think Martyn Gibson might be the kind of person who has a treacherous rug. I think, I can very much see him wearing a...
What, he'll go to Natasha's house?
No, I think he's got a syrup on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what do you think most likely to wear a wig? Definitely Justin, Martyn.
I think Justin's just rode it out, isn't he?
Well, no, you're right, because a man who's confident enough to wear his famous kind of crush velour purple jumpsuits wouldn't be too phased about a bit of... No, Martyn, I'm going to go for Martyn Gibson. I think he'd be wearing a... So this week has been extraordinary, hasn't it? It's not been the most gripping Archers ever, but I'm looking down our running list. We've done Jakob. Did we talk about the possibility of Denise and Alistair pairing up?
I felt we did.
Yeah, because we did the Cyrano de Bergerac thing, didn't we? But
yeah,
can you see them together? Do you think, at this awards thing, will she take one of them? Will it be a +1 and she'll have to take one of them and she'll pick the wrong one? And I don't know, there'll be some sort of, it's Alistair, a realisation. Because her husband keeps going cycling away from her, so.
And Jakob mentioned that Kate was busy at a crystals workshop and things are still a bit awkward between them because of Chris and Amy's situation. So I felt that was a bit fractious as well.
So do we have a moment where Denise has to say to Jakob, look, I'm sorry, it's so sweet that you feel that way, but I don't feel the same way. And then Jakob, in his very abrupt way, says, good God, no, what are you talking about? No, I just use Alistair's words. And suddenly the scales fall from Denise's eyes and she's like, Alistair's the one I want. He's the one I've always wanted.
Oh, if the Archers scriptwriters are listening, can they please give Peter Fickling a job? Because between that and his suggestion that Vince would run into Rory and Julianne in a late night cocktail bar in Birmingham, that's excellent.
I would be very happy. I would be very happy to write the Archers. I tell you what, there'd be less cast members.
Well, but even more if Keri took over, everyone would be killed.
Yeah.
Also, there was a treacherous other flooring element that was mentioned twice. Can you guess which character mentioned a treacherous floor situation that needed fixing twice?
David.
Yes.
Was it something to do with a water pipe?
No, that was a different thing. He was sort of up fixing a pipe outside.
Only an idiot gets on a roof with David.
Yeah. I was quite hopeful at that point. And Ben was like, you'll have to ask Josh to help you because I'm too busy revising. But yeah, he's mentioned twice these dodgy slats on the floor. So I'm worrying about those as well.
Sorry, Peter, what did you say?
I thought that was Steph.
The dodgy slat on the floor.
Yeah. No, she's taken the spare bed, hasn't she?
Did either of you two partake in strange pregnancy, guess the sex of the baby rituals?
What do you think, Matthew?
I don't know. The pillow test, Keri?
Well, how does a pillow face in any direction is what I would like to know.
What were the rules? That if it's facing north, it's what? A boy?
Was it? Yeah.
Okay. And if it's south, it's a girl. And then she said,
Yeah,
what
but
if it's
how
east or
does your
west?
pillow face north or south? The pillow
Hmm.
faces up. I'm having a Jakob moment.
No, I'm with you. I'm just wondering what, if any of you had experienced this before, this kind of superstition.
Yeah, sort of swizzling your ring round on a string. But it did make me think. I tweeted a while ago, 2021 it was, about this is fascinating. Grip the furniture at this. But I was laying in my bed at my brother's house in Wakefield, and I suddenly had the sensation I was lying in the same direction as I do on my bed at home in Brighton. And I checked on some maps, and I was. So I think I am a human compass. It's sort of to do with pillows, isn't it?
Are you a DC Universe or Marvel Universe superhero, Keri? Which one do you think instinctively
I know
you're?
nothing about either of those worlds.
Compass woman.
That's a good one, isn't it? Wouldn't come in useful much, would it? Just giving directions to people.
I like that. Oh my God. Which way are we going across the Pennines? Oh,
And then I sort of land with my legs
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah, with
That way.
flame red hair billowing in the wind. Well, that way's north.
Scott on the Antarctic, Captain Oates, we could have done with you, Keri, when he made his famous walk.
Exactly.
Should we pop an advert in and see what they have to say?
Yes.
Well, guys, as I said, I've been through my list and I'm feeling like we have ticked all of the different bits and bobs from this week's Archers.
Well, what about, we haven't talked about bruschetta, frittata, tiramisu and Hannah, have we?
No, you're absolutely right. And we should be ashamed of ourselves if we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
After a week of not doing the pod, I kind of felt quite refreshed coming back into it this week. But after listening to the episodes, I did wonder what the hell was going on. I think I wrote what the hell is going on in my notes at one point.
Do you know, I think Susan and Neil, fair play for thinking we'll have Hannah around. She's looking a bit under the weather. She's got the worries of her mum. They haven't always seen eye to eye, but, they welcomed her, didn't they? And Susan really sort of pushed her culinary boat out.
Mm.
And they really tried hard, and I liked that. Yes, there was a lot of carbs, but, it was like bread, wasn't it? Oh, when she said, I'll toast my baguette. And then
What's
there
the
was
baguette done? Won an award?
Oh, Matthew, that was terrible.
Thanks, Keri.
She bought the tiramisu from Underwoods. Oh, I just think she made special efforts. And it was really sad that Hannah then had to suddenly leave after all the efforts. But bless Susan, she just boxed things up, didn't she, in some Tupperware, and knew that Hannah was under pressure to go and visit her mum, who was having a hard time. Stepdad got in touch.
Yeah, that was sad, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
Hannah was just about to have a top up of wine. She was getting into a stride, wasn't she? She was waxing lyrical about doing the Camino de Santiago, which is in Spain, just north of Porto, as you go over the border, north of Vigo. She also was praising Portugal's second best city, Lisbon, and also Susan's correct. If you're having a Mediterranean evening, you should always have a break before you bring your frittata out. It's true.
What? Is that a euphemism?
No, even the owl wasn't a euphemism.
Okay.
Poor Matthew, it's a boy who cried wolf situation. This is what happens if you do a year of relentless double entendres. Eventually, everything you say sounds like a double entendre.
Yeah, it's a heavy dairy and carb-based dish. You should always have a break before you get it out.
You don't have to go all Neil on me. I know. I loved it when he said potato omelette.
I know.
He really sort of like de-exoticized the whole situation, didn't he? I loved that.
Yeah, I wanted him to break down what a bruschetta was as well. That would have been good.
Even though she was holding it in her hand.
Beans on toast without the beans.
Oh, it was. I liked that scene. It was like they were being generous and warm-hearted, and I liked it.
It was very nice to hear that moment when I'm going to get this wrong. You two will correct me, but Hannah said, "Oh, you've got a good one there," and then the actor who played Neil really lent into it, didn't he? He's like, "She's the best," or something. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it was. I was moved anyway because they did have their little rocky patch, didn't they? And I do have a very soft spot for Neil and Susan.
I don't think lasagna has been served in that house since Shula fell off Rolly.
Yeah, that's all died a death, hasn't it? All of that romantic intrigue.
The thing that always gets me is that I don't know why, but I never imagined that Shula had a massive arse. And then that was kind of referenced about 4 times during that whole period was, Susan made a comments. And there was also some comment about, whether horses' spines could continue to take the punishment of her prodigious derriere bouncing up and down on top of them. Well, one gave in the end, didn't it, and threw her off. But anyway.
When you say, are you sure there wasn't Keri saying all that?
No, I'm pretty sure some people mentioned Shula having a big bum.
Oh yeah, that's definitely been known as a thing because someone actually pointed it out to Shula, didn't they? Made horrid comments to her, about it.
It was one of those rare moments when Shula was quite likable, and she kind of laughed it off in a sort of very magnanimous and sort of sweet way. But yeah, but anyway, I feel dirty saying nice things about Shula. But anyway, so guys,
be careful, Peter.
So, guys, if people want to join us in our newfound love of Shula Hebden-Lloyd, where should they go? Is Twitter a good place, Keri?
Twitter's a great place, Peter. Yes, thank you for mentioning it.
So subtle. Yeah, come on.
Yes. Yeah, on Twitter we're at the Cider Shed Pod. Please come along and retweet us, and we have a right old laugh on there. There's a good bunch of people, a growing bunch of people. Please join us. I'm trying not to sound desperate. I hate selling anything. I will be really shit at it. But yeah, it's there.
And Matthew, if people want to tell Keri off for bullying me on air, can they do that on Facebook or Instagram?
They can do that on Facebook, which there was some debate of last week, but we have a Facebook group called the Cider Shed Podcast, and we have an Instagram, which is the same as our Twitter handle, which is the Cider Shed Pod. So I'm coming out of the back of a 3-day music festival. I come back into marking loads of tests and end of term, but I will be on it as much as I can as soon as possible. So continue there, and I will see you over there.
Fantastic. And if you want to drop us an email, it's hello@thecidershed.com, and I will try and get back to you in good order. Any suggestions, any comments, very gratefully received. And of course, have we said it yet? Please, please, please do us a lovely review, preferably on Apple. That would be much appreciated.
With words.
Are we all going to be...
Sorry.
Keri's just yelling with words.
Please put words. The reason I'm saying that is I know we've had a few 5-star reviews because I can see the numbers going up, and we have had a few with words, but not all of them were with words. So it's just really nice to see your comments.
Make Keri happy with words.
Say words again, Keri.
Words.
Yeah, I don't think we can improve on that. That'll do.
See you next week.
Right, words.
I'm going to say some words now. Bye.
I love words.
Me too.